There's this one spot in the Netherlands that I've always wanted to sail but never really got around to. This spot is a bit tricky to get to because it's in the middle of the Grevelingen Lake and you have to sail 3 kilometers offshore just to get to it. If the wind direction is off slightly or the wind drops, you might be in for a long swim. This weekend I finally decided to check the spot off my bucket list and it did not disappoint. Instead of boring you with a long action sequence, I think it'd be more interesting to show you how to surf over there, show a few runs and explain the spot a bit. I actually took a bigger board to discover the spot at first, and once I felt safe, went back to get my smallest slalom board. So let's start right here. To enter the spot, you drive to this parking spot in Zonnemeer. You have a nice meadow to rig up on and are right next to the water. We parked all the way to the north side of the spot to have the closest entry point to the outer dams. Near the shore, the wind is quite light and gusty, as there is a bigger dike covering the wind. But once you're about 200 meters out, the wind becomes more free. One thing that I noticed this year was that the Grevelingen Lake is full of these tiny little jellyfish, like everywhere. There were probably like a couple hundred in a cubic meter of water. So kind of every time I gripped into the water, I was grabbing a jellyfish, and even the boom would feel like slippery from all the jellyfish, which is disgusting, but luckily they were not the stinging ones, so it's just a bit disgusting, but they don't really hurt. Anyway, on this day the wind was quite southerly, so to get out to the outer dams I had to go quite far downwind. On this day the chop was also not so bad, but once the wind gets over 30 knots, this can become really a struggle to sail up and downwind. I'm on the Patrick Race medium aspect sail in 6.8 here, with my 97 liter dark horse and a 32 centimeter fin by Fine Fit. So smallish slalom gear. I think this was actually a really good combination for the day because this 97 board really handles the chop extraordinarily well, so I have no problem of going over the chop over to the dams here. Of course the chop is not super high yet, but yeah, in the 6.8 medium aspect sail, like the name suggests, it's a bit higher aspect than like a normal fin sail, and that makes it kind of easier to sail for a long time, especially here where you have to sail far out. Maybe you have to go back upwind, and so you don't really struggle so much with the sail. It's still super fast, but it makes it just a bit easier for these kind of journeys. So I was really happy with the gear that day. So after around 2 kilometers, we're reaching the first of the outer dams here. There's a total of 4 dams, which kind of guarantees that one of the dams would always work with the direction of the wind. This day, the second dam would have the best direction. You can only really stand right next to the dams on this spot, as already after a couple of meters the water gets too deep, so make sure to go really close to the dams if you want to take a break. Now we're reaching the second dam, and with the water being so deep, it's quite cool that you can even go really close to the dams with bigger slalom fins. The water is just so incredibly flat near the dams that I even sometimes feel like it's making the board stick a bit compared to sailing on tiny chop. To go really fast, you have to do a slingshot further downwind, which I'm doing right here. In between the dams, there are gaps where the chop can pass through, so you have to be a bit careful if you go full speed into the chop. Now I'm reaching the third dam. This one wouldn't really have the right direction this day, as it was just 90 degrees square to the wind. To sail here really feels like windsurfing on easy mode, as the water is so flat near the dams. Super fun overall. Only tricky part can be sailing here and back. I've heard of some guys being caught on small boards here before and having to swim the whole way back to shore, which can obviously always happen. Amazing spot. You have to surf out a bit, but if the wind is strong like today with a small slalom board, amazing. And you see how deep it is right here next to the dikes. So I'm gonna enjoy this session. Thanks for tuning in to this kind of different video today, and leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and see you next time, guys. Bye.